Hello and good evening, YouTube. Thank you for tuning in to another video on Chris Keterer's Watch Reviews. Tonight, I am bringing to you the updated Tissot Visodate Powermatic 80. Now, if you're a fan of watches or if you're just getting into watches, you probably already are familiar with the Tissot Visodate. It's part of their Heritage series, and it's been around for probably since, I think, 2016, maybe 17. But they just updated it recently. I saw it on Tissot's website a few weeks ago, and then they popped up on Amazon, and this particular model with the blue dial, it's actually like a blue gradient dial, but I'll go into that in a moment, was on sale for $400. It's retailing on Tissot's website for $675, so at that price, I just had to pick it up. I wasn't even looking to buy a watch, but I loved it and said, what the hell, so I got it, and needless to say, after approximately 2 weeks of ownership, I am not disappointed in the least bit. So I want to just point out a few differences between the previous model and the current model, and then I'll give you the specifications of this one and give you a couple of wrist shots. So to start off with some basic dimensions here, the case is 42 millimeters in diameter. Now that is larger than the previous generation, which had a 40 millimeter case. Lug to lug, though, stays the same at 47. So it has, because of the larger width, the watch looks like it has smaller lug to lug width, but it's actually the same as the previous generation. You can see it has the day-date complication, just like the previous one. However, this one is also color matched, which I appreciate greatly, because color matched date wheels, I just prefer that. Going into the thickness here, it is approximately 13.2, if I remember reading that correctly, and as you can see here, has a very pronounced domed sapphire crystal. The AR coating on it is not very good. That is the one thing that Tissot, as you can see here, you can see the camera, you can see the lights reflecting off of it. Wearing it outside, it definitely does not absorb sunlight as well as some of my other watches do that have really good AR coating on them. So now to point out a few of the differences that Tissot did, other than the larger width of the case. The blue dial is different. The previous generation blue dial had sort of a sunburst blue. This is more of a gradient blue, and it's hard to pick up on the interior lighting, but it goes from like a dark to a slightly lighter blue. If you look at the stock photos online, you're going to see the gradient feature is much more pronounced. In real life, not so much, but it's honestly not a big deal, and it still looks great. Like I said, the other, you got the day-date complication, just like the first one. However, this version here, let me move the hands here a little bit. This version here, as you can see, it's boxed. The previous generation, the day-date complication was not boxed at all. It looked like a Seiko 5 watch would. It was white, and it didn't have any framing or anything like that. So that's another subtle difference that they did. Let me go ahead and put that back. They also moved the Visodate logo to the 6 o'clock position, where they also add the Powermatic 80. And that brings me to the next change. The previous version used the standard ETA 2836, which is a ETA 2824 with a day-date complication. This utilizes that same movement. However, they made the modifications that they have on their other Powermatic 80 movements to give this one an 80-hour power reserve as well. And then you can see the movement through the display case back. Nothing fancy. It has a signed Tissot rotor. Other than that, nothing really changes on it. This version, like the other previous blue dial, came on a Milanese bracelet, which I really like, and it has the signed Tissot clasp. I'll show you how this clasp works in just a moment. And that's basically the subtle differences. So really, it's just the extra 2 millimeters of width, the matching color wheel with the framing, and now utilizing a Powermatic 80 movement. Other than that, it's pretty much the same as the previous gen. There's also a new colorway that they added. They have the black and the white, just like the previous Visodate models had. They also added like a champagne color, and that one was actually pretty nice itself. I almost contemplated that. But I really like blue dials on watches, and that blue gradient feature just kind of spoke to me. So that was the one I went with. One negative I am going to point out here is the lug to lug width. I'm sorry, the lug width. This is a 21 millimeter lug width. So if you do want to replace the straps, strap replacements are a little bit more difficult. It would have been nice if it had, 20 or 22, but it is what it is. But I really like the Milanese anyway, and so I plan on probably not removing this because it's just really comfortable, and I think it fits the aesthetic of the watch. I mean, this is supposed to be sort of like a reissue of a mid-20th century Tissot. It's even using that old school Tissot logo, which I really like. So let me go ahead and just give you a wrist shot and show you briefly how this clasp works if you've never operated a Milanese strap before. This flips up, this pops out, and you see here there's like this little hook that goes around it. So that just hooks in, snap it, and pop it back. And Milanese straps are really cool because they're really easy to adjust. You just take a screwdriver, you put it in this little rivet here, it flips up, and then this slides. And you can slide it to wherever you want till you get the absolute perfect fit. So, it's almost like having micro adjustments on a really nice bracelet. So let me go ahead and give you a wrist shot here. The only problem with these Milanese is that sometimes they're a little finicky to get on. There we go. Okay. I have 6 3/4 inch wrist for reference, so I'm gonna go ahead, pull it back here a little bit, and you can see how it wears on my 6 3/4 inch wrist. I think it looks really good. Wears well. It's geared to be more of a dress watch, but given the size of it, I probably wouldn't wear this with like a suit. Definitely more with casual shirts for work, polo shirts, that kind of thing. I feel like it works better in those kind of situations. It's definitely a nice summer watch, with the Milanese strap on it. That was the only reason why I bought it. Weather's starting to warm up a little bit finally. And we're starting to have some good weather, so, be able to wear short sleeves and wear this outside. Speaking of which, there is no Loom on this watch at all, as it's supposed to be, mid-20th century design, so no Loom. You see it has very nice Dauphine style hands, which is also very mid-20th century. So I think they did a really good job here, bringing back some of that mid-20th century aesthetic. And I really like it. I really enjoy the whole entire lineup. If blue is not your thing, like I said, they got black, they got white, they got champagne. You can check them out on Tissot's website. Amazon still has them. I don't know if they're on Joma Shop yet. I haven't exactly looked. But I hope you guys really like this watch. I love it. Any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them down below. I will get back to you as soon as I can. And as always, thank you for tuning in.